We all know the silhouette, the 22-inch biceps, the Terminator sunglasses, the governor's podium. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the ultimate personification of the American dream, a global icon who conquered bodybuilding, Hollywood, and American politics. But if you look closer at the late 1960s, there's a gap in the story, a legal glitch in the matrix that most biographers skim over. How does a 21-year-old kid from rural Austria, who barely speaks a word of English and possesses zero traditional job skills, just show up in California and stay? Most people assume he just walked onto a movie set and was handed a passport. The truth is much more calculated, much more bureaucratic, and much more legally precarious than the highlight reels suggest. This wasn't just a journey of muscles and charisma. It was a 15-year masterclass in navigating one of the most complex, rigid immigration systems on Earth. This is the story of how Arnold became the extraordinary alien. But to truly understand the icon, we have to look at the paperwork. In this video, we are going to answer 3 specific questions that define Arnold's survival. First, how did he live in a legal gray area for years without getting deported? Second, what was the extraordinary loophole that finally secured his green card? And finally, why did he have to wait until 1983 to officially call himself an American? This is the invisible strategy behind one of the world's most famous immigrants.
Just a quick reminder, if you appreciate this in-depth content, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It helps us bring you more.
To understand the ambition, you first have to understand the isolation of his origins. Born on July 30th, 1947, in Thal, a small municipality near Graz, Austria, Arnold Alois Schwarzenegger grew up in the harsh, gray reality of the post-war period. Life was defined by a strict, authoritarian upbringing under his father, Gustav, a local gendarme with a heavy hand. But Arnold found an escape at a cold lake called Thallersee, where he discovered his life's singular passion, weightlifting. Influenced by older bodybuilders, he began a rigorous training regimen that was, quite literally, his ticket out. By 19, he moved to Munich, Germany, to work in a fitness studio. But Germany was just a training ground. He didn't want to be the best in Europe. He wanted to go to the only place where being big was a viable career path, America. But America doesn't just let you in because you have a symmetrical physique. You need a visa.
I had this urge of coming to America, so I just couldn't figure out how. And so that's why I think I started with bodybuilding also, because it was a very American sport. And I felt like, well, you know, if I really do well in bodybuilding, and if I could become like one of those guys, like Steve Reeves or Reg Park, then I will be eventually invited to come to America and compete over there, or whatever, the movies, whatever. I had my own little fantasy. So there was always ways that I tried to figure out, how can I get to America? Well, bodybuilding eventually was the way, the ticket to America.
In October 1968, Arnold finally touched down on U.S. soil with little more than a gym bag and a B-1 visa, is strictly designated for business visitors. You cannot get a traditional job. You cannot receive a standard paycheck. So how did he survive? This brings us to Joe Weider, the trainer of champions, and a fitness magnate who saw in Arnold not just a bodybuilder, but a brand. In a move that modern immigration lawyers would call highly creative, Weider sponsored Arnold's living expenses. Technically, Arnold wasn't working. He was a visitor, giving interviews and training in Weider's gyms in exchange for a room and a weekly stipend. It was a legal tightrope. Had a disgruntled official looked too closely at this arrangement, he could have been deported. By 1969, this gray area was becoming unsustainable. Arnold was getting famous, and fame brings a level of scrutiny that undocumented or improperly documented workers cannot afford. He was cast in his first feature film, Hercules in New York, and you simply cannot be the lead in a SAG-certified production on a visitor visa. He needed to pivot, and fast. This was the moment he successfully upgraded his immigration status to an H-2 visa. The H-2 was the standard temporary worker visa utilized by foreign athletes and entertainers, and it was his vital lifeline. It officially entitled him to work legally in the United States without the crushing restrictions of the B-1 visitor status. Today, this is known as the H-2B, a temporary work permit that requires a U.S. employer to act as a sponsor and prove to the Department of Labor that no local workers are available for the role. It's not an easy path. It's subject to a strict annual quota, meaning only a limited number are issued each year, and it must be renewed annually. For Arnold, this was the perfect surgical strike, providing the professional bridge he needed to transition from a visitor to a legal tax-paying member of the American workforce.
Arnold's story is more than just a historical timeline. It's a blueprint for anyone who has ever felt like an outsider with a monumental goal. Whether you're navigating your own complex visa process, grinding through late-night study sessions, or pushing your physical and mental limits, you are walking a path of relentless resilience. Drop a comment below and tell us how Arnold's transition from a restrictive B-1 visitor to a global icon inspires your own journey.
Take Daniel. He's brilliant, highly educated, and has an idea that could change his industry. But today, he's stuck. He's outside the US looking in. No visa, no access to the world's biggest companies, no way to scale. Now, imagine he finally gets that legal yes. Fast forward 3 years. He's built something impactful, hired a team, and is driving innovation. The question is, did that talent suddenly appear the day he landed? Or was it always there, just waiting for the door to open? That access, the part most people never see, is exactly what a visa provides. Arnold knew it, and he didn't hesitate. While the world saw him winning Mr. Olympia titles, Arnold was secretly performing a second workout routine, this one for his brain. He knew that physical dominance was temporary, but legal and intellectual standing were permanent. With the security of his H-2 status, he immersed himself in American society, enrolling in English as a second language classes at a local community college. He didn't stop at language. He utilized the business knowledge he'd gained in Munich to enroll in microeconomics and accounting classes at Santa Monica City College and later UCLA. The H-2 work status gave him the psychological foundation to stop looking over his shoulder and start looking at the horizon. His big Hollywood breakthrough came in 1982 with Conan the Barbarian, and by 1984, he became a permanent fixture of global cinema as the iconic cyborg in James Cameron's The Terminator. But behind the scenes, another legal battle was being won. By 1974, having dominated the sport of bodybuilding, Arnold applied for a green card based on extraordinary ability. This status is reserved for those who have reached the very pinnacle of their field, and Arnold was the undisputed king. He was now a permanent resident, but he still wasn't an American citizen. Standard U.S. law dictates a 5-year waiting period after receiving a green card before you can apply for naturalization, which made him eligible by 1979. However, Arnold faced a unique hurdle. His home country of Austria generally forbade dual citizenship at the time. To become an American, he would technically have to renounce his Austrian heritage and lose his original passport. Arnold, ever the strategist, refused to accept an either-or scenario. He collaborated with Joseph Kreiner, the governor of Styria, to secure a highly rare special interest waiver from the Austrian government. This complex legal maneuvering delayed his ceremony, but on September 17, 1983, he finally stood in a courtroom, raised his right hand, and became a naturalized U.S. citizen while retaining his Austrian roots. This immigrant, who arrived on a restrictive business visa with a thick accent and empty pockets, would eventually rise to the highest office in California, serving as governor from 2003 to 2011. As governor, he championed environmental legislation and infrastructure.
I'm so proud and happy that I was embraced by the American people like that. I mean, imagine I came over here with the age of 21, with absolutely nothing. And then to create a career like that. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. Every single thing, if it's my bodybuilding career, if it's my acting career, becoming governor, the beautiful family that I've created, all of this is because of America.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's journey is a profound testament to the power of the American dream when combined with a meticulous understanding of the law. He navigated the language barriers, the cultural shifts, and the rigorous immigration constraints. His story highlights a fundamental truth. While the U.S. immigration system can be daunting and incredibly complex, finding the right legal pathway is the ultimate key to unlocking a person's boundless potential. The journey from a small town in Austria to the global stage began with a single visa application, and yours can begin right now. Whether you are an athlete, an artist, or an entrepreneur, the extraordinary alien path is open to those who have the drive to pursue it and the right legal team to clear the way. The story you've just seen is a powerful answer to the question, what drives someone to leave everything behind and reshape the world with their vision? This series, proudly presented by the law offices of Chris M. Ingram, celebrates the courage, innovation, and determination of immigrants who transform history. Subscribe and join us as we continue to honor the enduring impact of immigrant ambition.